So if we actually implement all of this DevOps stuff, are you actually just working yourself out of a job? And by implementing this, you find yourself unemployed? Let's talk about that. Hey, what's up? I'm Will from DevOps for Developers. And on this channel, I talk about all things DevOps, from interviewing and landing your first DevOps job to implementing DevOps across your entire organization. And in this video today, I'm talking about some comments that I've seen and some questions I've been asked recently about what happens when you implement DevOps, and specifically about serverless. You know, if your engineering team starts using the serverless model, does that mean that you don't have a job anymore? So let's talk about it in two parts. Let's talk about working yourself out of a job, then we'll talk about the serverless model itself. First thing, okay, let's say that you've done this DevOps thing and you have fully implemented DevOps. The engineering team does their own deploys. The CI/CD pipeline runs itself. The engineering team does their own on-call rotation, and they're doing their own support of the application. Everything's covered with monitoring, logging, and alerting. And your boss comes to you one day and says, dude,
I think we're done here. Everyone's doing the DevOps stuff. Everything is automated. We haven't had a server or production outage in like 16 months. I really don't have any more work for you. I guess I got to cut you loose.
Let's break that down. First of all, it's never going to happen. There will always be more work to do. DevOps is like this journey or this quest, you know. It's sort of like saying, I'm going to become the perfect human. It's never going to happen. There's always going to be something to work on. There's always going to be an area that needs to be improved upon. And by improving one thing, you're going to realize that that just leads to something else that needs to be improved upon. So you're not going to work yourself out of a job. But let's say I'm completely full of shit and you actually do. Okay, fine. You get fired from your job because you worked yourself out of a position. That's actually the greatest thing you could ever hope for. Because the second that that happens, I want you to go open up your resume, delete everything on it, and just put, I got fired because there was nothing left to do, in like 144 point font on that, and send that out to every company. I guarantee you will absolutely get hired again. And if I'm wrong, send your resume to me. I'll find you a job, I promise. Hell, I'll give you my job. Second part of that, let's talk about serverless. I know there's some concerns from some of y'all that if these organizations or engineering teams go serverless, then obviously there's no server. So what do you as a DevOps engineer do? Does that mean you're not needed anymore? Absolutely not. You know, serverless, as you're probably aware, doesn't mean that there's no servers. It just means they're abstracted away. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. You still have to have monitoring, logging, alerting, CI/CD, and operational practices around how that engineering team deploys and distributes their code. The server is just one part of that. And I get the fascination with doing that, because when you tell a software developer that they've got to go do something on a server, it's not something they're comfortable with. Most of them don't have those skills. So if you tell them,
Hey, you can do this without the server,
they're going to go that direction, which is totally okay. There's still tons of work to be done in the DevOps space that have nothing to do with the server. I want you to think about it this way also. If you don't have to manage the servers, what does that free up your time to do? Odds are you've got a backlog of things to do that you haven't been able to get to for one reason or another. So if we take away one of those things that's consuming your time, it doesn't mean you don't have work to do. It means you now have the time available to work on the other things. Now, granted, that's kind of like a very optimistic and progressive approach to this problem. You may very well be employed in a situation where you have a boss or an organization that doesn't see things that way, and that's okay. In that case, you know, your concerns may be justified. So what do you do in that scenario? The thing you do is you check out my playlist on how to interview for DevOps jobs. You take all the notes you can from that and start brushing up on your skills and get ready for that next job. And that's not, vindictive or malicious or anything. That's you looking out for you because no one else is going to. And there's no harm with looking for a job, right? If you're not in the right place, go find a new job. And I get that some of us, I've been there. I understand that sometimes you got to sit through a shitty job because you got to put food on the table. That's just the way it is sometimes. And there's no harm in that. As long as you're delivering value to your employer that exceeds the amount of money they're paying you, you're free at any point to go find a better job that improves your quality of life, improves the scenario for your family, and improves your abilities and skills as an engineer and as a human. So let's summarize this. Is serverless going to put you out of a job? Not a chance in hell. Can you build a DevOps implementation that puts you out of a job? I don't think so. And if you do, it's going to make you a superstar. And if that's the case, companies are going to be fighting over who gets to hire you next.